Hello and welcome to the Redmen TV. It is player ratings time after Liverpool drew 0-0 with Everton. To everybody who has joined the stream, thank you very much. Don't forget to drop a like on it. If you're here just for the player ratings, we're going to go through the first 11 and the 5 substitutes after Liverpool's 0-0 draw with Everton. A disappointing result, all told. One where I thought Liverpool could have gone on and really put a bit more pressure on Everton. I don't think we had enough shots. We didn't put Pickford under enough pressure. But we're here for player ratings, so we'll start off with the goalkeeper, Alison Becker. Actually one of our standout performers on the day, really. Not needed much until late on in the game, probably 78, 79 minutes, when Everton got a 5-minute spell of pressure. But certainly for me, Alison Becker gets an 8 out of 10. One really, really big save from Calvert-Lewin, a little flick around the corner there as well. Joe Gomez makes a great touch to send Tom Davies wide. But Alison Becker, 8 out of 10. Don't forget to leave me your player ratings in the comments section below. I'm going to go through some of the YouTube comments and stuff very, very shortly. But Alison, 8 out of 10. We'll start with James Milner. He started the game at left-back. Good first 5-10 minutes, something like that. Quite a good couple of quick throw-ins, I suppose. We really stand out, and hopefully it's not. It was just a precaution that we took James Milner off. Obviously, with Andy Robertson not starting this game, we needed big things from James Milner. I think it's really hindered our game plan having to take him off after 19 minutes. So I'm going to give James Milner a 6 out of 10, and then obviously Joe Gomez is the player who comes on for Dejan Lovren, and Joe Gomez. A decent performance from him playing left back. It's not a position he's played for a very long time, but the one difference that I saw anyway, that I felt with Joe Gomez playing left centre half, left back even since the last time I saw it, is he was willing to get forwards. He was willing to get forward and provide an outlet. Lads, if you could stop talking to me here, that'd be fantastic. So Joe Gomez, obviously, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 because he kept on signing, he kept going, and it's a position that's slightly unfamiliar to him. Virgil van Dijk didn't have too much to do. It actually wasn't Richarlison who went up against Virgil van Dijk. It was or tended to be Calvert-Lewin. Probably a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 maybe for Virgil. I'll go 7 out of 10. Joel Matip, again, another player who's unfortunate. He goes off with an injury, but he had a good solid game. Again, probably maybe a 6 or a 7 out of 10 for Joel Matip. Dejan Lovren comes in for for Joel Matip later on in the game. And Dejan Lovren, I would say, didn't do anything wrong, really. He got beaten by Richarlison once, but did manage to recover after an Alison save. Maybe a 6 out of 10 for him. Trent Alexander-Arnold, I'm going to give Trent a 6 out of 10. He was the guy who was going to light it up for us today. If anything was going to happen, it was going to be Trent Alexander-Arnold. But as we discussed during the game, Trent's delivery wasn't really on point today. A little bit of ring rust maybe for Trent Alexander-Arnold, but also we didn't have that much support over on that right-hand side. We started to see a lot in the first half where Jordan Henderson was out there and they were looking for the overlap, but ultimately Trent Alexander-Arnold was left a little bit isolated the further he got forwards when we made our substitutions, and unfortunately one of his poorer performances of the season for Alexander-Arnold. So 6 out of 10 for him. Fabinho, I thought he had a really poor game, all told. I think, he has a shot that's saved well by Pickford from a free kick in probably the 90th minute or so, give or take. But other than that, I didn't feel like he got his foot on the ball. I didn't feel like he was linking play between the defence and the attack, or the defence and the other midfielders often enough. He felt like he was firefighting, certainly in that first half. He got himself into a little bit of trouble with a couple of nasty tackles and stuff like that early on. But yeah, maybe probably a 5 out of 10 for Fabinho. If there was one player I was really disappointed with, it was him. I thought Naby Keita was one of the bright sparks for Liverpool. And I thought Naby lad looked really good, actually, and I was a little bit disappointed to see him go off. Maybe it was a fitness thing rather than a performance thing. That's the only thing I can think of, because I think Naby was maybe one of our players of the match. We saw what he's about. We saw when he gets that ball at his feet, he likes to take that run on. He's looking for nice passes, and he's looking to link up play with the attackers in front of him. Jordan Henderson, again, one of our better players on the day. Probably a 7 out of 10 for Jordan Henderson. I think, he looked good when he was getting into this area of the field here. First half, as I mentioned, alongside Trent Alexander-Arnold, and probably the back end of the first half, he started to drop deep, he started to put his foot on the ball, and he started to look to play others in, and that's when Liverpool looked at the best. And I was a little bit disappointed, actually, that Jordan Henderson never ended up sort of in this position here, because I thought maybe if Liverpool were brave enough to do that, we'd have a little bit more out of the game. Obviously, at half-time, the substitution was made. I think it was Naby Keita for Oxlade-Chamberlain. It's hard to keep up with so many substitutes. I can never normally keep up with just 3. Never mind fucking 5 substitutes. But Oxlade-Chamberlain came on. Actually, he came on the right-hand side for Minamino, didn't he? No. What? He came on at half-time for Minamino, was it? Yeah. So, look, I'll get to Minamino first because it's unfair not to give him a rating because he did play half of football. And he looked bright. He looked really bright, to be honest with you. And again, you know, it was him, it was Firmino, and Trent was playing passes into him. And he plays that role slightly differently to Mo Salah. We know that. We talked about that. But, again, he looked bright and so did Keita. And I was a little bit disappointed that both of those players went off, actually. You know, maybe it's tough, isn't it? Because you don't know what the fitness levels are like. And Jürgen obviously does, but I think Minamino probably had a 7 out of 10 performance, which is better than some of the other players around him. I think Sadio Mane, although he goes on and plays the full 95 plus minutes or whatever it was, didn't really have many bright moments during the game. I think he was there, he was consistent throughout, maybe a 7 out of 10 performance for him, and Bobby Firmino probably a 7 out of 10 performance from him as well. Just all in all, a really tough game for Liverpool's forward players. I think Everton did really well in playing with the 4 at the back and the 4 in front and the restricted space. It was this area of the field where I feel like we didn't lose the game, of course, but where we didn't capitalise and we didn't have enough bodies in the centre of the park, unfortunately, to really get a breakthrough. Divock Origi comes on, and he comes on that left wing when and Manny goes up top. Obviously, I think Chamberlain comes on right wing for Minamino, and Wijnaldum comes on there, something like that. But, you know, I think Wijnaldum, probably a 6 out of 10 performance from him. Divock Origi didn't really do too much for me, maybe another 6 out of 10 performance. And Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, you know, he has that one really bright run when he slaloms through about 3 Everton players, wins the free kick on the edge of the area. And then when he was on that right-hand side, he was a constant outlet, but didn't really do too much. And again, I think Everton played us really well. There's a little bit of rust for us not playing for as many days as it was, you know, over 100 days now Liverpool haven't played. I felt like we should have played with a little bit more confidence, a little bit more bravery, but equally we weren't going to let Everton win the game. And a draw away at Goodison Park, even without the fans, is about standard for Liverpool over the last 3 years. I think that's 3 0-0 draws on the bounce with Everton. You know, they probably had the better of us. They had the better chances to win that game, certainly towards the end. An even game, a draw seems like a fair result. Leave me your thoughts in the comment section, of course. I'll get to some of them now. Matip was solid. Minamino was taken off too soon. Was the one looking to make things happen in the first half, said SC. I'm not reading that one out. We got a super chat there from 12-foot wall, £2. Thank you very much. Oh, come on, Coutinho needs to come back. Anyone else agree? Bloody hell. I've just commented QQ exclamation mark. That's pretty impressive considering I've just picked my phone up. Chris, what did you make of Manny playing mostly through the middle the entire game? Said Eric Forbes. Eric, a member, that's what that little green badge means. He's been a member for, 1 month. Once you pass that 1 month, you get a different badge, which is pretty cool. But you've got a green badge at the moment, Eric. And I thought Manny played left-hand side for most of the game. And it wasn't until Firmino went off, I think, that Manny went through the centre. I don't remember him doing anything from the centre of the park. Is that fair to say? Does anybody remember him doing anything from the centre? He challenged for a couple of headers, but that was about all. So, yeah, not a great performance from him as that number 9. Breaking a low block is a real issue for us, says Mark Mayers. And certainly since the restart, it's been a little bit of an issue for us, but that has only been 1 game. Before that, we've been playing low blocks every single week. I'm not ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is a fantastic fucking Liverpool side. We know that. It's exceptional circumstances, just as it was for Everton. Fair play. But Liverpool will be better for having that game of football. Liverpool did not lose the game. Liverpool is still going to win the Premier League this season. That's what we need to remember.